It's like Anthony Mackie playing Captain America. That character, that may have been a completely different performance had had an actor with a more serious attitude
Right.
been handed that, like an Alan Rickman of Blackman. If you like this clip, feel free to hit like, subscribe, and join us on Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for 01. We're lucky to live in a time like this and not in a timeline where they had to actually go through with the Blade movie, you know that? So
Oh my good. I mean, that's the thing though, is okay, maybe I don't even want them to go through with the Blade movie, but at this point, I don't I seriously okay. The best way to start this story and to sum up my thoughts on it is yesterday we got the news that out of nowhere the Mahershala Ali Blade reboot movie has been removed from Disney's release schedule for next year.
Church, let me correct you there. They finally got to a point where they're willing to publicly admit that this thing is dead.
I mean, oh, pretty much. I mean, this is all
good,
but
man.
the official announcement, because yeah, they removed it from the calendar. They gave its date to Predator Badlands. They didn't say, they gave no other update. All they did was remove it from the schedule. So for all intents and purposes, this movie is now in an indefinite delay. So when I went to write the story for this, my opening line was, it seriously should not be this hard to do a movie about a cool black guy killing vampires, sometimes with a katana. Then I was like, oh, I need to go get some links from a previous article. I opened up the last article I wrote about Blade, and my opening line was, it should not be this hard to write a movie about a cool guy killing vampires.
wow.
Yeah, I was just like, there you go. Like, that's all I can really say about this.
The Matrix.
It should not be this hard to do cool black guy kills vampires, even if it was awful, even if you gave it the cheesiest Tubi level 90s movie dialogue, if it was like what is that cider, Last Red Ranger or whatever, even if it was like that, it would be, people would go watch Blade. People would go and watch Blade.
They can fund that on Kickstarter.
They could do it so easy. And like, that's another thing. Yeah, or go ahead. Yeah.
Think about it though. Like, you remember Jefferson Twilight from the Venture Brothers?
Yeah.
If they just did 70s Blade, they don't have to do like Blade in the modern era. Just take Wesley Snipes, throw him back in the 60s, say he fell through a time portal and he's been stuck there for 30 years. That's all you got to do.
It would be the coolest thing ever. Like a big afroed Blade who's still talking jive while killing vampires. That's way.
But he's from the future, so he knows he's rich. So he's predicting. He's not gonna do like Doc Brown did, be like, "Oh, we can't bet on things." He's gonna be like, "No way, I know what all the Super Bowls go like, man. Whistler taught me some shit."
because he's a vampire, he's smart. He's like, "Yeah, I've existed for like 300 years. I invested like 500 doubloons in this kid named like Tony Jobson. I'm pretty sure you'll know what his kid goes on and does in a couple years." So when he gets to our time, just all of his investments have paid off, and he's just got like Fry style. He can just go pick them out of the bank and be like, "I got zillions of dollars. I knew I was going to live forever. Of course, this is what we do."
But dude, I said it for months. I said the Snipes curse was real. And it is real. This proves my freaking point. And Jacob was laughing.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh, what the Wesley Snipes curse is that because Marvel didn't bring back Wesley Snipes as Blade for this movie, that this production was doomed to fail.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm not one of the, I actually thought when it was announced, I thought Mahershala would be a great choice. I like Snipes as that, but I'm also I'm like, he's a little old. Why not get a new talent? Mahershala is at least like a badass in Luke Cage. Like, he's cool, he's calm, he's like scary. And yeah, I guess that is the curse now, is that this just isn't popping off. I don't even know what to say about this movie anymore. We've had 4 delays, we've had 6 rewrites, we've had 2 directors, we've lost one, we still are like out looking for the next guy to come take it. Nobody knows what's going on. Everything that's leaked is like we're disconnecting all the setups we ever did. No more Black Knight from Eternals, no more connection to the Midnight Suns, no more this. We're just doing, it's so weird. Or not weird, but pathetic.
Again, you gotta remember, we announced this movie in Comic-Con 2019, and they did not shoot in over 5 years a single scene with Ali, even in his suit. Even in like they didn't even like take a promotional picture of this film in 5 years. That's how
they didn't even hand him a pair of sunglasses and say hello. Just say hello to us.
I don't even know if they even gave him like his measurements to see if they can even like make a suit for him to wear.
No, you know how I know they didn't? They actually, Blade has had one appearance in the MCU, and that was at the end of Eternals in the post-credit scene. It is shot from the back of his head, and it's only his ear. Like, it's clearly a stand-in, and it's just Mahershala talking over like a microphone. This is one of those productions that we always talk about where they clearly were like, yeah, greenlight it. You love it, right? And they had no plan for it, right? The Star Trek 4, we still don't know where that piece of crap is supposed to be. And that was announced 3 years ago to get investors to give Paramount more money. It's a trend that I know like Jacob always calls out, but this is sort of the end game of it, right? We're at the point where these things just can't even materialize. They can't even be dumped onto Disney Plus because nobody did anything about it.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
and like I said, now just real quick for Cider goes, the meme here that Nerd Games was referencing, I called it like when I saw it from the Deadpool movie. It's like, yeah, that Blade movie is like never coming out, and everyone was all like, oh, the references that they got a film in the works. It's like, no, you guys don't have any idea how that screwed up that production. Yeah. That's never coming out. So to me, this was their indication that that film's dead.
Mahershala, Marshall Lee, whatever you want to call him.
Whatever you want to call him.
We'll just call him martial law.
Yeah, martial law. Not a good choice for Blade, in my opinion. I don't think there is an actor other than Wesley Snipes that can do it. Similarly to how I feel about Robert Downey Jr. and Tony Stark.
I agree with that.
Blade is such a unique character in and of himself. You can pluck him out of the Marvel universe and absolutely nothing about him changes.
Oh yeah,
nothing about him changes. Similarly, Wesley Snipes' career, if you just plucked him out of being an actor, next to nothing about him changes. He's the same guy on camera most of the time as he is in interviews, as he is on the street, as he is in photographs, as he is in prison. And the thing is that it's a very unique pairing like we had with Hugh Jackman and Wolverine. Not only does the person embody the character, but the character evolves into them. Wolverine was supposed to be very short. No one ever cared that Hugh was over 6 feet tall. No one ever. Well, you know what I mean. It didn't become.
I know what you mean.
It didn't break the character, I guess. And I can only really attribute to his desire to become Wolverine that actually was possible. This is what Snipes was able to pull off. He became Blade. Blade became him, just the same as Iron Man became Robert Downey Jr. and Robert Downey Jr. became Iron Man. Both of these roles were improved. The guy and the character were improved by that, and that's why I don't think there can be a replacement. Once you're done with this, it's over with. You do animated Blade, certainly, but I don't think live action can happen after Snipes.
Yeah, see, I think I disagree with that from a different viewpoint because, like, yes, I hear what you're saying where RDJ is that live action Tony. Yes, Snipes is that live action Blade. But I grew up, my introduction to all these guys was in the comic books. So when I saw them on the screen, they're still not who I think of when I think of the character. So to me, Mahershala was a great choice because he is that low, sort of cool, calm, collected, and scary, right? Where everything could be exploding around you. And as long as this guy's like, all right, you're like, oh, he's got something. I don't think he would ever replace, like, that's the thing. I don't think he'd ever replace Wesley Snipes, and you would never get like, oh, remember that one time Wesley Snipes was in a random Blade movie? He's always going to be that definitive one, but I don't think that precludes anybody from coming in and playing a version of that character. Just like we've gotten 90 different Supermen, even though I think George Reeves is the best one, I can still look at Cavill or Welling and go, you're doing a good job as that character. You might not be the best version of that character or my favorite, but you are still a good take on that character. Dean Cain.
I just picture you sitting in the sand, like building up some sand and like into a pile, and they're like all these Supermen are standing around, and you say, yeah, this is your Superman legacy. It's broken, but it's okay. It's okay. Like Stitch at the end of Lilo and Stitch, where he's like, your family's bullshit, but I like it.
Yeah. I'm just saying, if we went with this, no actor can ever portray another character. We never would have gotten Cavill. We never would have gotten,
Well, talking to the wrong guy. Okay, you're talking to the wrong guy on that one. But I get where you're coming from. I absolutely understand that there wouldn't have ever been a Dean Cain had we given up on Superman at George Reeves. I absolutely understand. But the situation that I think we're at now is that the studios can't be trusted on the other end. But it would have the only thing I would really have to say about this, right, is that presently I do not believe there is a Hollywood actor that could carry the character without it being a parody. I even think Mahershala Ali's version would still be mean.
Yeah, I see what you mean, and I can agree with that take, actually. Yeah. I see exactly what you mean.
It's like Anthony Mackie playing Captain America. That character, that may have been a completely different performance had an actor with a more serious attitude been handed that, like an Alan Rickman of Black Men, been handed that role, it probably wouldn't have been memed so hard. And so
I see exactly what you're saying too, because it's also like, okay, at least this is how I took it. It's like, yeah, Mahershala might do a fine job. This isn't a commentary on him, but the way probably he and Marvel will approach the character will try too hard to be Wesley Snipes' Blade that it ends up being like, like you said, Blade. A parody. Well, but a bad version, right? It's like a TJ version where you're like, I know what you're trying for. It's not working.
Wesley Snipes' Blade will never seriously say some motherfucker's always trying to ice skate uphill ever again. That was once. But you bet your bottom dollar the very first episode of Blade was intended to have that character say that as he slices a vampire in half at dawn.
Or here's a theory, Cider. Was it meant for Blade to say when he comes on screen so everybody claps? Or do you think they gave that to his daughter so that everybody goes, oh yeah, she's just as cool?
Oh, sure, right? Like, right. And then like the post-credit scene is they're sitting there eating cup of ramen because, Blade's poor. And they're eating cup of ramen. He says, wait, where did you learn that? I killed everybody in the room. Where did you learn that?
And then she just shrugs and says, you want to see my flirkin? And then it takes out his eye.
Yeah, right.
Or you just post.
Why does it keep happening to black people?
Honestly, if they had any amount of like sauce to them, they would have that post-credit scene just be like Steven Dorff watching a news report about like Blade on TV and being like, this is stupid. Like, I hate that guy, or something like that. But they won't. It'll be awful. It won't be anything. This isn't happening. There's no way this happens. Nobody talks about it.
You're right. You have Ryan Reynolds is pushing very hard for a Logan-style send-off movie. And like I said earlier, the easiest way to do that is to inexplicably put Blade back in the 70s, give him 2 lines of dialogue that explain him falling through a time portal when Doctor Strange was screwing around with the multiverse. We ripped open all those holes.
You can just easily go, he escaped from the void. The void can spit you out whatever time, wherever. It doesn't matter. Boom, sure. There he is. He's there. He
was a void fart. And
there you go. Exactly.
And he ended up in the 70s, and you've got Wesley Snipes in bell bottoms, walking around like actual Shaft, and then he rounds a corner, and instead of it being Shaft, you're in the middle of a Buffy episode.
Like, see, that it should be so easy. It should be so easy.
It's literally that easy.
And yet 5 years of nothing. So I hit that 5 years.
Wouldn't that be great, right? They hate Joss Whedon right now, right? Because he got exposed for being a creepy weirdo. So they have Blade walk in on like some blonde that thinks she's gonna kill a vampire, and she like stabs him with a stake, but it misses his heart, and so he's got her up against the wall and he's about to bite her. And Blade's like, excuse me, miss, do you mind if I cut in, or do you think you got it from here?
Right, and then you got to drop those cheesy one-liners, like at least, but they make sense from Snipes. They wouldn't feel right coming from Ali. I get what you're saying.
Right, he just doesn't. You imagine his eyebrows going up and him having that quippy line, and it feels like a meme. But when Snipes does it, it's like, I'm gonna die. I'm gonna fall out of my chair laughing just thinking about it. Like you can see his face. He's got that. Look on his face. Like, do you need some help, ma'am?
So no, 100%. So I mentioned the 5, or Jacob mentioned, like, it's been 5 years. I haven't done anything on it. And that reminded me of something that's tangentially related. It's sort of it's related, but it's a different medium. But I'll let you'll see what I mean. So 5 years of production time and nothing has come out of this movie. I was looking up for an article by one of our writers, Nikolaj. He was writing about the God of War. There's a rumor that the God of War collection is coming for PS5. And so I went to fact check, or like I was reading Nikolaj's article, and he was like, this game came out, like the original PS1 God of War came out 2005, and he's doing all the dates. And I went, no way. And so I went to Wikipedia, I looked it up. The entire original God of War, like 5 games. So like the main trilogy, the PSP game, and then the like remake of the first one for PS3. All 5 of those games, 5 years total time to get all of those. Like we have, and my point to this is like production in entertainment everywhere is beyond broken. It should not take like that's 5 years for 5 super solid games. 5 years we haven't gotten one picture of Blade. 5
games that introduce
new development time.
New mechanics, by the way. The rage meter was a new mechanic, so that required new engine. But the other thing I want to point out about this, right, is that we know why this has happened now, is that it's the sensitivity readings. Everything has to go through a happy-go-lucky bubble before it's allowed to proceed. And once everybody's hugged each other and patted each other on the back for doing this super-duper good job, pet some puppies, you know, had some juice boxes, then they can go back to work making the game. But that takes about a week because there's a lot of people to hug. There's a lot of juice boxes to have, and you just can't catch a puppy. They're just so squirmy, wiggly, get away. You know, it's
such a setback for a studio.
And that's just, it's really hard in the modern American workplace because you've got to catch puppies all the time before you can make video games. And it's just, you know, insurance. It's what it is.
No, you're completely right. It's every level of every production. You have to go, does this fly by our, I mean, and obviously not like the actual like code or whatever.
Is this overweight Mexican in a Michelin jacket good for us to attach to our multi-$100 million video game?
And that's got to go through all of your consultants, all of your leaders. And because all of these companies are giant now, that takes, like Cider said, a week. I'd say that's optimistic. Maybe
right. You're right.
Get that. Yeah. Like, and back in the day, you used to be able to go, okay, there's 150 of us. Well, I'm just going to walk down the hall. And if Cider's available right now, I know he's president and he's busy, but if he's available, I'll be like, hey, can I run something by you? Nowadays, everything's so corporate and you got to, you know, set up the meeting and get the, you know, whatever. Everybody who's worked in corporate knows exactly what I'm talking about. It's all that now. So that doesn't foster creativity at all. That's how you end up with Kylie Jenner Pepsi ads.